Patrick France, senior instructor, has been here for 9 years. A lot of great information from him. He's got a lot of tech savvy. He's been in trading in the market for a long time.
All right, so this one, I like it because it was moving sideways for a bit, just gapped up. Similar to what we were looking at with some of the gold stocks today that were gapping up. I would play it that way, take a little bit more aggressive of an approach to it rather than buying it above the high. I'd buy it, closer to the end of the day, make sure it's trading within that upper 25% of its trading ranges today, and then put your stop right at the low of today's action. If it breaks below that, then obviously get out because it shows that it's, filling that gap, it's losing that momentum, it's exhausted. But stochastics is, getting close to that oversold territory, getting a nice big pop today, 3 and 8 just turning positive on it. As the old saying goes, scared money don't make no money. So on that, I'd be buying into it.
Papa says a lot of things, doesn't he?
Papa said a lot of things, but Papa was a Rolling Stone.
But that's the way I look at it. Gapping up, I like that. If you go back to a 1 year, I believe it's a fresh 1 year high. So that's what I like to call green line breakout. And those are typically really strong patterns to go off of. You have a huge spike in volume, kind of confirming that. As we talk about in the Jockey Club, or volume's conviction. So that speaks a lot about how much it's up today and that a lot of people are looking at it. The crowd mentality is jumping on board with it. One of my goals when I was looking for stocks was, I had a feeling all these old guys with me were going to be taking a bunch of gold stocks, taking the easy route. So I made sure I got stocks that weren't in anything gold and silver. Just because I feel like gold and silver has been on a great run recently, but at the same time, has to have some sort of a pullback to create new buying opportunities.
What was that story, the tortoise and the hare?
All I got out of that was all these old guys that he was going to be with. That's all I got out of that. Yeah. Especially because of Todd. But anyway.
All these old guys, blah, 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 blah.
No, that's good to mix it up. This is good.
I may be old, but I'm immature.
I made sure to stick with stocks. My goal was to find stocks that I thought could still do really well outside of gold and silver. So that was my goal with that. Here you got Match Group. Everybody's using online dating now. It's kind of hard to go wrong with that. If you toss on the
it's got to
earnings,
be earnings related, right?
I believe so as well. Yeah, go back to a 1 year on earnings.
I bet it's a
earnings are nice, steady rise as well.
Do you look at all that the longer trend is up, or are you really just playing the breakout?
I'm playing the breakout, but whenever I look at earnings, I like to leave 1 year graph, just to make sure over the last year. I feel like in a 3 month, 6 month time frame, looking at earnings, it can't really tell a good picture.
You're right.
So whenever I look at earnings, I always put it on 1 year just to check that aspect of it. But when I'm looking at my reason for buying it, I get confirmation from earnings that tells me it's a good stock, and then I jump on the price pattern that we're seeing today of the green line breakout.
Got higher lows leading to that too. So
yeah, the trend is up, right?
Yeah, have a nice steady uptrend, starting to gain some momentum.
Yeah.
So
only thing I'd do is just check the news, see what actually drove it, just to make sure it's likely earnings.
I believe it was earnings. But yeah, that would be.
That'd be a good thing, no matter what.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah.
So that was my first pick, going with Match.
Anybody else have anything else to say before we go? If you want to go before you go to the next one.
Well, for me, just check the news. Yeah.
Check the news. Okay.
I want to know why. That's the only
Also,
reason.
another factor I noticed was CI as well, 1.6. Extremely strong CI tells us it has that ability to bounce back if any sort of pullback occurs.
And look at the pullbacks. Pull back.
Yeah.
Pull back. Pull back. Pull back. But look at, it doesn't stay long. Prior to back here, it doesn't stay long. It doesn't stay down very long. And that's what that CI indicator is all about.
So I like that. I think that was the one I found using our daily boomers.
Yep.
Anybody that's in a Jockey Club, I use it a lot there. find some high momentum stocks for potential day trades, but you can also find stocks like these for swing trade opportunities as well for, catching good momentum plays. You notice it's been bouncing around from a buy to a hold for a while. Rather than some of the ones I take in the Jockey Club for day trades where I don't care, most likely they'll be sells, really beaten down. But for a swing trade opportunity, that's what you're looking for. Nice steady rise in price, and it's booming today. Good earnings, good CI. Yeah, so that was my first pick to go with today.
All right, you ready to go to the next one?
We can.
Okay.
All right, so this one's a little bit different of a setup. You have a good looking pattern from bottom left to upper right in price. During this most recent pullback, stocks pulled back, stochastics have cooled off a lot, got close to that oversold territory, telling us that we have an ability to start potentially moving up here in the near future. 3 still below the 8 a little bit right now, but it's getting really close for a good setup of the 3 crossing above the 8. Stochastics starting to come out of that oversold territory there. As it's been selling off a little bit off of that high, volume's been lightening up, telling me less and less people are really interested in selling it at that point. People aren't piling into it to keep momentum building to the downside right now. And if this market starts or continues to move higher like we've seen today, I think this has some good potential. You look at earnings, once again, earnings on a 1 year.
Solid.
Earnings steadily moving higher. Nice pattern since about the beginning of the year. Once again, it's outside of the gold and silver. CI wasn't bad either, I believe. I think CI was above 1.
Oh, I didn't save yours. That's what happened. Okay.
Sure it is with that graph pattern. I'm sure it is.
It's got to be.
1.28, not the best, but still not horrible, not bad at all. So it shows that it can bounce back nicely on a slight pullback. I do see this as a little bit more aggressive because it is, not at the new high right now. It is pulling back a little bit different than what we've looked at so far today. But with a higher CI, good earnings, nice setup.
So Patrick, what would you use to enter the 3 crossing above the 8 or stochastics crossover? Or?
So I'd like to see can you zoom? Yeah. So I'd like to see the percent K go above the percent D on the stochastics, start to move up, both moving higher, but then also confirmation from the 3 crossing above the 8. Preferably some higher volume relative to what it's been trading at.
Yep.
Because whenever you have that higher volume, it shows you that momentum or that crowd effect, everybody jumping into it. That would be kind of my confirmation that it's time to really get back in and that it's starting to move higher again.
Copy that.
So how are you going to deal with the prior swing? I assume that's not a target, right?
No.
So are you going to wait to break it, or are you going to take it and hang on?
Take it before. If you wanted to use that entry setup of getting in, on the 3 and the 8 crossover, just as Glenn was talking about earlier, you could use the 3 breaking down below the 8 if it doesn't, take off to that new high to cut your loss or minimize your loss quickly.
Yep.
But 45.
One thing to think about, just because it's been sideways for a little while, would be follow through on what you're saying. The 3 and the 8. But just start with like half size position. And then as you break through the high, add to it.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Or, if you jumped into it, on the aggressive approach, jumping into it today because it's up, and it's kind of moved sideways as the market's dropped a lot.
Yeah.
You could put a support level in on that most recent sideways action and use that up a little higher, right around there or so. There you go. What's that?
That's
point?
your line in the sand.
I know, but what's that? 43.40. So you're giving it 30-cent downside risk, but if it goes back to the previous high, you're almost at 50. So $4 upside, 30-cent downside.
Exactly. That's a good trade. Actually.
Good risk reward ratio.
Yep.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.